Okay, so just before we get on to modeling our head, we're going to make sure that when we modeled our hands, those extra polygons, we'll just map back to front and do it in our perspective, those extra polygons didn't form multiple vertices. So we're going to use the warp tool. We're going to try and select just the one. See how I moved it at an angle where I don't select the one on the side. We're going to bring down our Dropbox for the world view, and we're going to drag our threshold out. And it seems that this time it's okay, but it's good practice to just make sure we don't have extra vertices, because at 253 centimeters we still have the same amount of vertices, which means that those vertices wouldn't have been in the same place, and we don't have to do it to everything else. But just in case, you might want to check. So now we're going to model a head, which means for the moment, we're going to hide our body and just start on a head as itself. Essentially, it's the same kind of process as the body, so we get a box, we'll drag it to be our head, and we'll try and get it to a similar shape. Now I'll just use its measurements to try and fit it out. And we're going to apply the material we made before, which has all our animated texturing on it, so that it goes invisible if we drag it through onto our head, so it makes our modeling easier. Now I'm going to stick with about 3 segments on each side of the cube for the head, and we'll go from that. So now we've done that, I'm going to convert it to an edit poly, and we're just going to start dragging our box down to be similar shape to our head. So top of our head's higher, these corners go down, yes. Except I'm going to ignore that outer edge and do it to the actual guy's head. Yeah. Okay, so now I've got our head relatively lined out. I'm just going to cut a line down the middle with the connect tool, and so I can delete half our object, and once again we'll use symmetry. So with that in mind, zoom out. We're just going to shape the rest of this to look like a head as well. We'll just leave the neck out for the moment. And I'll completely ignore his nose as well. The other symmetry side, by ticking the beaker you can have it show up. Yeah, because by ticking the beaker you get everything in your list applied. And so now I've got something that looks somewhat like a head. Now we're going to make it visible. Okay, so now we've got the general outline of our head. I'm just going to go to our vertices, and we're going to go down to our cut tool. And around about this line here, we want to make an eye for us. So the easiest way to do this, instead of actually using our cut tool, is to select these 4 edges and just connect them. And then we'll move the vertices down to make some kind of eye shape, which I should probably be doing in the front viewport. And of course the middle vertex is now sticking out, so we'll move in to get some kind of eye. We can smooth this out later, but that is the beginning of our eye. Also, we want to have a nose. So this time we are actually going to cut it. I'm going to use that middle vertex, cuts it down both. Get that, and we'll bring it just below there. And just so that our polygon stays 4-sided, we'll cut the edge of the nose down to that corner there, and drag that line around.
What's the importance 4-sided? Just a better word of
Pretty much. It means that all the tools work. It means that the polygons make sense when it thinks about it. It's, yeah, general practice.
General practice.
4-sided polygons.
News to me.
Yep. And so now we've got our nose. We can get rid of our cut tool. Select our polygon, and we're going to extrude it. And then we're going to hold our vertices back in most of the places, so we'll just use target weld to get that vertex back to where that one is. And the same thing for our other side, down to that. And for our mouth, we're going to go back to using the cut tool, which will start out at this edge, cut to below the nose, and we'll just do another cut down there. Once again, normally your mouth will be open, really depends on how you're modeling your character, but you can set the lines there. And of course you can connect more lines in to add more of a mouth shape. So if I connected these around here, so we have a complete circle, not leaving any open edges, that gives me the vertices to move around to create more of a mouth shape.
So you select them first and then hit connect.
Yeah. So now our person has a mouth. And we've got a few more lines around the face to define what we want. So since we've got our eye holes, normally you just either put a texture on here to make the eye, in which case you can, once again, we'll use the cut tool this time actually. I'll just cut a line straight through to that edge there. And this one to the corner of the nose. Just so that the lines connect to something if we decide to smooth our model later. So now we can make a more round eye, or if you want you can just get a sphere and put an eye texture on it and just put it in this position on the face.
So why cut versus connect? Or is it giving you the same?
Cut means I can go from a vertex to any other place I want. I can cut to a middle of a plane. If I use connect tool, I just get an edge and connect it to the middle of another edge. So now you can see we've got a nose, mouth, and eyes on our face. I won't be putting too much time to getting them to the right shape today, but as you can see, we also haven't changed the top of our model, which should be head-shaped. So we'll just move back out, make it more rounded. And we should have done this before I started putting a face on.
Can you go back in your stack? Modify or take it from a simple element? No, you want
No.
to take it.
Yeah.
So it's just harder to pick up the vertices you want doing it this way.
Yeah. That one.
Excuse the interruption, but if you're in the German class, would you please go to the...
And I'm just going to drop ones from the eye a bit further into the head than would normally be around, so it's kind of like a socket. I'll just drag that one a bit further forward to give us some kind of forehead and a ridge between the eyes. And so I'm going to move them a bit close together. And as you can see, the lines we used around when we made the mouth are now a kind of cheek structure on the face. But just so we can have a bit of extra definition to use with it, I'm going to connect those two. So now you can see that our head, for the most part, has taken the shape of a head. Except I'm going to shrink it down a bit that way. Now I'm going to draw out a neck for my head. It'll be about long looks, except and at this point, once we're happy with it, we're going to get rid of the symmetry modifier so we can affect the object as a whole. So I'm just going to collapse the stack. I'm going to weld those vertices together, if it'll let me. Picking that edge. It shouldn't make a difference, but if I get that vertice, I can drag it out to, no, that's still not going to do it. But if I delete the polygons it's made in the middle there, maybe. And so now, if we weld these together, it should work. But since we want them to be at the middle of this distance away, we can use the weld tool. Now, I've got a number way too big to do several on this, so I'll just lower it down. So that welds those vertices together. I'll just check the back of the object. And we'll just round that neck off a bit. We'll try and get it flat and beneath our head. And it's at this point where I'll delete all the bottom faces of our head, so we've just got a rough head there.